Hey everyone, James Mason here. I'm putting together this live event to go through the next 90 minutes worth of Sales Navigator to get you guys more leads and clients. Okay, now just to share, this is going to be an intense session where it's going to be very in-depth, but also showcasing the actual process. So some of our events are obviously based on the theory, the techniques and tactics. This one will be actually showing you how to do the specifics. So jumping in, where we're going to start is with your LinkedIn profile. Now, this is always a great starting point, but because before we bring in new people, we should absolutely make sure that we're showcasing all the things we want to, making sure that we have the right messaging going out to the right types of people that we're going to bring in, right? And when I say messaging, I also mean, what does your actual profile say to these new people that are arriving? Secondly, we'll move on to accounts. Account searches are where we search for companies. There's some real benefits to this, and we'll share with you why that matters. And then, of course, lastly, we will go after people, and this is a lead search. So let's just jump straight into the profile, and we can go ahead and kind of begin there. I think it's a fantastic starting point. So let's jump straight into LinkedIn. So from here, the first and most important part of this entire process, I would suggest, is your first impression. Okay, and what this actually means is your profile image. Not so much the cover image, and we'll cover why that's important in a second, but with your profile image, you want to make sure that it's really standing out. Okay, so I'm not just talking about a high quality image. Of course, we want to do that, but if I share with you mine a bit bigger here, mine is done in a way because it's our brand color, but also the logo. We built this company through a personal brand this time rather than a kind of a logo. So we've kept that for as long as we can. Now, I would recommend your cover image can change often, as much as you would like it to. But your profile image should stay the same, because every time you send a message, every time you make a post, this is how most people will recognize you. Okay, so that is one of the most important things. Now, we'll cover in just a moment how all of this kind of comes together. Okay, so with your cover image, especially with LinkedIn, one of the things that actually is a conversation starter for us is a lot of our clients actually ask me, why do I have leads and clients so big compared to the other fonts? Obviously, there's designers out there looking at this going, oh, that's really, leads and clients should be a little bit smaller. The reason we've done this is if you open your own profile from someone's mobile device, you'll actually realize that you can't read most cover images. They might look great, but if you can't read them, and most users, 52% of LinkedIn users, view it on a phone. So you want to make sure that you're able to convert. Now, the way we use our cover image is very simple. We get them in with a hook, we tell them how, and then where to go. So leads and clients is the hook. Helping you turn LinkedIn into profit is what we do. And then the last option is our website, which is where we can help you do that, right? So whether it's this event, whether it's our course, whether it's our done for you services, all of that is communicated there. I think where a lot of our clients especially go wrong with LinkedIn is they try and build these processes that sell from the get-go. And that actually closes more doors than it opens. So with this type of cover and approach, it's very welcoming. In some ways, it's a little bit mysterious. You might wonder, well, how can they help? And that's exactly what we're trying to achieve. So moving on, the next most important section is actually your tagline and your name and even your pronoun. Okay, so these are new things that you can change in the last 6 to 7 months, but you can now add an emoji to your name on LinkedIn. Now, most of you have never looked at your name since the day you made the profile. Of course not, right? But if you go back in there, you can actually add an emoji, and this can help you just stand out dramatically, especially if you make content. The first thing you actually see is your profile image and your name way before you actually see your post. That helps people stop scrolling. So again, if a lot of people get used to kind of seeing your name with an emoji, so just keep that in mind. That these small details can really help you stand out. Okay. Now, with your pronoun, this is a brand new feature on LinkedIn. In the last, I say, 4 or 5 months, you can now add a custom pronoun into LinkedIn. So, of course, a lot of our clients are utilizing that to demonstrate their brand, demonstrate their job title, and ultimately communicate more about themselves whilst freeing up characters within the tagline. And this is super important if you make content. And I'll cover why in just a moment. Okay, so when you read your name and your tagline, you want to communicate as much as possible, the least amount of words. Okay, so with mine, I'm James Mason. I'm a LinkedIn growth expert. I help you turn LinkedIn into profit. And here's where I do that. If you look at how many words are being used there, it's very few, but it does a very good job at kind of condensing all of that together and maybe enticing you to want to check out how we might be able to help. Okay, so that is just one of the methods that we use to kind of just demonstrate a bit of everything from start to the end. This is how we can assist you. Okay, and moving on, of course, one thing I want to share with this is your analytics. This is obviously something that you can see on my end for my profile, but obviously I can't see yours. And just to share, these post impressions are normally in the thousands. This week we haven't posted yet. So we've been testing some new stuff there. But what I can share with you is your profile views is something you want to really look at, okay? Because the profile views are actually the people here that have seen your profile. And this is really silly to say it that way, but it's really important to understand that those 629 profile views are like website traffic. So if your profile isn't converting people, then you're missing out. So whatever that number is, if you compare that to maybe your Google ads or your Facebook ads or whatever other advertising you might be doing, if you paid for 629 people to arrive, it's a pretty hefty sum, right? We want to make sure that we're guiding these people to the right place before there's any issues. Okay, moving on, post impressions. Now this is where this section matters the most. The first name, the pronoun, the cover, and the tagline. This is what gets seen when you make a post. Your profile actually isn't visible. Your cover image isn't visible. Only your profile image and your tagline is visible when you make a post. So I always like to remind our clients of that, is that you actually want to check when you're making content that your direct traffic increase, because if you include your website URL, people can literally type it in. Okay, so that's just often skipped over. So moving on, we obviously have the about section here. And of course, if you guys have any questions throughout, we have pre-asked, as many of you know, most people cannot make it to the live event when they purchase these tickets, as you can imagine. So when that's the case, we like to make sure that we answer some questions ahead of time. That way, those people get to ask a question as well. And of course, any questions you have after, you may send to us as well. So moving on with the about section here, this section is dedicated to telling your founding story. And this is often used in documentaries and in TV shows where, the premise of the show or the owner of a company tells their story about starting it. This is your section to do that for your industry, your business. So make sure you utilize it well. In my case, right now, we're dedicated to adding people that are running paid ads. The reason for that is LinkedIn ads are immensely expensive. And what we specialize is getting away from them. I've previously sold another agency where we were stuck in the relentless cycle of paid ads. So this founding story should speak to the people that we're bringing in. And eventually, as they run through my story here, you can actually see that they get here. So we obviously share with them a little bit more about how we can actually help them further. Okay, so you want it to feel friendly, genuine, not a pitch. I often see our highest paying clients actually have a copied and paste about section from the website. It's not the place for that. Okay, and that's really, really 2005. So we need to update it. We need to tell a story and get people connecting with you before you've even spoke with them. And this is far more likely to increase calls, increase leads, and everything else. Okay, so moving on, we have services, and this is only if you're a premium member, so you won't spend too long. Whilst most of you will have Sales Navigator, I hope, we have seen just from our pre-based questions, many of you are asking, is Sales Navigator worthy? So I understand many of you are here to see the impact of what Sales Navigator could bring to your business. So we won't spend too long here. But within here, these are one of the major benefits. You get to list off your services, okay? So when you do this, LinkedIn actually can recommend you to projects. I will briefly share this with you, but of course I don't want to share with you who's applying to our industry. Within this page, you get requests. Okay, and this is because you're a premium member, and you can see here. I'll only show this person for the time being, but you can see that they're looking for brand marketing. They're based in Singapore, and you can see that they're looking to improve their brand perception on LinkedIn. He's an individual, and he's looking to get started this week. So for this individual, probably recommend our course, right? It just seems to be best suited. We share a lot about how we can improve your brand on LinkedIn there. But as you can see, we have plenty of leads coming in through this. And once you set this up, not only can it guide your traffic when people are viewing your profile, more importantly, it can also generate new leads because you have it set up. Okay, and then also further down in the featured section here, we have the free webinar, which is something that we do, which is not these by any means. We have the LinkedIn lead generation course, which of course you guys have got a discount code to. We have our LinkedIn newsletter. Now, what we're attempting to do here, and we've had this there for the last 6 months because it's crushing it, is we're trying to give people options and reasons to get in contact. Now, as you can imagine, based on my cover image, we're only interested in doing two things: generating more leads and getting more clients, whether that be for our clients or even for ourselves. Okay, my team like to stay busy. So with this in mind, we give people 3 completely different options on how they can tell us more about their industry. Okay, so when we do this, this helps, just the entire process in helping people get in contact. And if you're a reader and you like reading posts and long form posts, well, the newsletter is fantastic for you. If you like watching like this experience, then of course the course is for you in your own pace. And the webinar, these free webinars are a bite size of what you're seeing today, and we don't go into much detail, of course, as you can imagine, but they're used to sell event tickets. So many of you may even be from one of our free events, and I thank you very much. So, and then of course you have further down your experience. We want to communicate this in the best way you can, and just to share, when you have those skills and services connected to your profile, the more endorsements you get from clients, the more leads you will generate. Okay, so that's just how LinkedIn works. That's one of the methods in which kind of LinkedIn uses a quality score. The people that have the most engagement, they typically see the most success. Naturally, how these platforms work. The more you invest into the platform, the more the platform gives you. So let me go ahead and open Sales Navigator here, and I will have to stop sharing my screen for just a second. And of course, we will now look to jump into Sales Navigator. Now, before we take this big step, I encourage you to get a notepad. You will receive a recording of this event. I know how in-depth it's going to be. So fair warning for you guys. We're going to start with about account searches. This is where we search for companies. Now, there's a major reason why we do this. So even if you're looking for individuals, I'll be sharing with you why it's so important to search for the companies first. And then secondly, we'll be doing leads, okay? But there'll be so much more covered during these phases. We'll cover the two initially, and we'll dive into some of the extra strategies around them here. So let me just jump into Sales Navigator, share with you kind of the basics and overview of what we look at before we even get started. Okay, so if you've never used this before and it's not going to go to this level, I'm sure many of you have it, but of course I want to just cover the basics and the fundamentals. So most users, 98% of these users, will click lead filters straight away. And most of you have probably seen this page. You've probably tried to search for some people, or you have successfully searched for some people, and you haven't really explored much else. Now, this is super common. The lead search is fantastic, but our favorite is actually this tab here, an account search. Now, we'll cover lead search in just a moment, but with an account search, there's so many filters here that even though it looks less, they might even be more powerful. So the first thing to look at is annual revenue. This is a stat that actually got removed from LinkedIn 3 years ago for people. So you can't actually look up what an individual makes anymore based on their profile, but you can for the company. Okay, so it does start from $500,000. You can't really set that as a maximum either. So there is a bit of a limit in the sense of above. So yeah, but it's fantastic, right? So you can set some filters in here. You can have company headcount as well, which you can also get from a person. But the main reason we use this is for some extra benefits such as this: job opportunities, hiring on LinkedIn. Okay, so if I just give this some very brief stats here, I'm going to do companies of 1 to 10 in size, United States, and currently hiring on LinkedIn. Okay, now forgetting the job role that they're hiring for, as a broad recommendation, I would suggest only going after companies that are currently hiring. Reason for that is they're active on LinkedIn. These job posts have been made in the last 30 days. And more importantly, depending on your industry, it does depend on, depending on your industry, it can, a company that is hiring is typically a company that is growing. And you can actually look into what job title they're hiring for and all these sorts of things, and we can cover that later. But these are just some of the few where you can get really, really targeted. So if I was to go, okay, I want to write to companies that make $1 million to $2.5 million a year in revenue, great. So 1 to 10 in size, my likelihood of getting through is really good. The annual revenue is there as well. They're in the US and they're currently all hiring. So I have a pretty good shot on not only getting through, there's only 10 people at the company, so it gives me quite a few options. But more importantly, they're hiring, which tells me things are going pretty well. So they're probably on the rise. One of the worst things you can do is write to a company that's not doing too well and ultimately not get through, and you just kind of get ignored, which is very common on LinkedIn if you get the targeting wrong. So why would we do an account search? Well, account searches allow you access to the people. Okay, so what this actually means is if I was to target my remote team, so I'm actually going to pick a different one. I'm going to pick in technology group just because they have 9 employees. So if I click this little check mark here and I wanted to see, and I'm actually going to click a few here just for this example. If I wanted to click these 3 companies, one of the things you might notice is if I click this button, view current employees, it's going to take me through from a company search with all that criteria of company size, headcount, revenue being there, right? Because we can't do that. Oh, it looks like I've had too many requests for the day. How interesting. So that might make today's session a little bit more difficult, but no problem at all. If anything, it might be easier for me to not show new people on LinkedIn. Nonetheless, with that type of search, you can actually transition over to a people search. And what this does, it allows you to see the companies and can understand the revenue. And then more importantly, it allows you to showcase the people that do not advertise themselves on LinkedIn. There's typically 2 groups of people on LinkedIn. The first group are people that promote themselves as a business owner or as an entrepreneur or as their job role at a company. And then you have another batch of people that just use LinkedIn. They don't post, they just have it, and they're an owner of a major company, right? And those people, the latter, are actually the ones that we find more success with. They get less messages, they're less busy on LinkedIn. So when they do get an interaction, maybe you leave a comment, maybe you send them a message, maybe you connect with them, all these things look more promising. So just to share, that's one of the major benefits of an account search. So carrying on. It looks like we've hit our limit for the day, despite not being on Sales Nav. We're actually covering this later in the session, so you'll see how we can actually get around that when these things happen. It doesn't mean you have to stop what you're using for Sales Nav. If you happen to start this fresh, you'll find that these limits are very common. They happen every day, and depends on how many searches you do. I'm very surprised that ours has popped up, even we haven't been up today. That being said, we'll cover how you get around that later and what options you have to sort of improve yourself. Now, to cover the lead search. Now, this is where we search for people. Now, you've got this section here on the left-hand side, which almost all of you would have used before. They allow you to search the company, the roles, the personal elements of this, and we'll cover this in a moment. With workflows as well, you can have things like people you've interacted with, right? So if you've both commented on the same post or you've had a conversation, LinkedIn actually tracks all of this. You can also upgrade your LinkedIn to be a CRM. We'll share with you actually how you can do that without upgrading, because it's immensely expensive to do that. Lead lists, account lists, we'll be covering in just a moment. This is where we save searches. That way you don't have to keep hitting those limits again and again. And then persona as well. This is things you can set up. It is new, as you can see. We haven't truly tested it yet, so I wouldn't recommend it at this time. any of the newest features on LinkedIn, typically let it season in, give it 30 days, 60 days. You'll find often that LinkedIn puts stuff in and remove it pretty quickly just when things go wrong with it. Then post it on LinkedIn. Now, this is one and the only stat that you can see that showcases whether someone is active from Sales Navigator. Okay, so what this means is posting is just one element. Now, consider what industry you're in. Okay, because if you're in an industry like anything medical, anything in insurance, anything in like law, or even finance in most cases, these industries typically post a lot less, if at all. Doesn't mean they don't use LinkedIn, just means they're not posting. So just keep that in mind. Depends who you're going after. Now, if you're going after like agencies, then you're going to want to focus on the people that are most active, of course. And we can look at that as well. Shared experiences. This is one that we love to use. This means we're in the same group, we've commented on the same post, we've engaged with the same stuff, and we're probably very similar with the things that we like on LinkedIn. You can typically use this, when you're, searching for prospects. Past colleague. This is a fantastic little hidden option. This is where we can type somebody in and find their past colleagues. We'll cover this later. Connections of. This is one of the most powerful settings within the platform. Almost everybody we speak to never used it. What this allows you to do is actually type in somebody's name. This could be a competitor. This could be a previous happy client. And what it allows you to do is find the people that are in their network already. So from a competitor's perspective, this allows you to type their name in and actually show and find the people that they've been engaging with. So if you know you have a competitor that's twice the price of you, yet your services are very similar, I'd look to go after the people that they're booking calls with and adding to their network recently, because if they can't afford them, they might be able to afford yourself. And then equally, connections of or your happiest clients allows you to give a warm outreach to people they actually know. Now, this takes a bit more depth. So if you were to use this, I would click open, type in your customer's name, and then what you want to do is actually mirror the persona of your happy client. Okay, so if they were an owner of a tech business with 1 to 10 employees and they're based in London, England, as an example, what we want to do is type their name in and then find someone that's in the exact same industry, in the exact same city. And you want to look at things like previous employers. So maybe it's someone they used to work with before, and now they've gone in separate ways. Or you want to look for someone that's been to university, and these sorts of really unique techniques to find the people that they actually know. When we show this to clients and we show them who their happiest clients know, we drop them a message to share with them the details, how we helped their person they know in their real life. Works fantastically well. You can do that in 2 ways, by the way. You can do this research, and then you could kindly ask your client to introduce you to a specific person, which is the way I prefer to do it, assuming your customers are happy to do so. Or the latter is you can kind of create a creative message where it seems like a happy coincidence that you both know the same person and you just so happen to have great results and a great experience with that person of the past, right? So these are the things that you really want to look at. And then up here as well, they call it buyer intent. It's a little bit silly, but it's people that follow your company. This is one of the most overlooked things on LinkedIn. If you have a company page and it grows, you've almost never looked at who follows the page. This actually allows you to do so. So you can actually see who's following your page, especially recently, and look to kind of get in contact with them personally. That's one benefit I would share on LinkedIn, is if you're doing stuff like corporate wise or company wise, be sure to outreach even to them personally. This works even better with ads. We won't be covering that today, but I'll just drop that in there, that you can actually do this against not only your own ads, but also competitors' ads if you're running them on LinkedIn. And then, of course, viewed your profile. Now, this is always a fun one. Everyone gets notifications to see who's checking them out, but within here, you can really do some really unique stuff about seeing who's checking them out. Okay, so jumping in to the next thing. So with an account search and a lead search, of course, we've hit our limit for the day, which is hilarious. So we won't be able to do too many of the searches. I think we can get through with an account search, but maybe not a people search, which I actually don't mind. The settings are still there. Everything we would do is still there. It just means I won't show strangers on the screen, but I'm sure you guys wouldn't mind that. So before you do these searches, one of the things I tell all of our clients, and this is what we do for clients, is you want to have some form of organization ahead of time. And what this means is you want to think about, where am I going to save these people so I don't have to go off and find them again? And you don't want to use a spreadsheet. You don't want to use another tech tool with another monthly cost. It's best to do this completely within Sales Navigator. And if you're one of these people that kind of has Sales Navigator for 2-3 months, you do your research and then you take that data and you kind of write to them and you see how it goes. With you keeping this in the platform, the moment you renew your subscription, all of that information stays. And it also helps you even further. It continues to search the platform. So let's jump into an account search, or sorry, accounts, and I'll share with you how you make different saved searches. So within here, you can actually click see account lists. If you don't have any, it will ask you to make one. Okay. And here's how you do that over here. So you can see this is a lot of for clients, as you can imagine, but also some of us as well. You can see here that we have tons of lead companies saved on LinkedIn. We actually have 9,000 companies, and we're hitting the limit here very soon. But what this allows us to do is keep track of companies for our clients. So if you're in this space as well, or if you're looking to keep track of the companies, something I can share with you is you want to make sure that you're writing the companies on their best day. Timing on LinkedIn, one of the most important elements that no one speaks about. So I'm just going to pick one of these lists here. I'm trying to go after one here with some size. This example, so we have a few options, but let's click this one. So when you save these companies, LinkedIn will continue to track them for you. And this is where it gets fantastic. So not only does it start recommending you companies that are similar about then the changes that they've recently made, right? So we do a lot of stuff around growth, around, like employees, hiring, these sorts of things. But where that down here, you can sort of get a lot of information. So one of the things I look at is these sort of signals that LinkedIn give you. So you can see here that someone at the company recently joined the Global 500. So if I was interested, obviously this is the company name, right? So this new person has just joined. Now, if I'm wanting to get in contact with that person, well, I can share with you, Daniel is new. So whilst he's new, he might not know everybody to be able to kind of put our name in, but I can bet you he's active on LinkedIn. If we mention the new company and congratulating him, we have a really good shot at getting our message through, maybe starting that relationship. But what I would share is this section here, growth alerts. Again, if you're not messaging companies or people on a good period of time, you'll find it's very hard to kind of, really make a nice impression, honestly. So within here, you get to keep track of all these companies, right? So when you've done this search, and as you can imagine, for us as a service, we go in here, we find the companies, we clean them up, we make sure we got the right ones, and then we wait and we kind of watch and see and get notifications on when the best time is to write to one of our clients. So let me jump over to a people search, and I'll share with you how it's different for people. So oftentimes for a company, you typically get someone that's, hiring someone new, or they've just posted a job, these sorts of things as a company. But it does give you some really good insights. But people is where it really shines. So let me jump up here into leads. And again, the difference here, if you do an account search, you save the accounts, the companies. You do a lead search, you save the leads, they're people on LinkedIn. That is literally the difference. So let me share with you one of these audiences here. I'll pick the top one. This is actually saved by LinkedIn. So the more of this that you do, the more in line LinkedIn gets. Okay, so LinkedIn this month is recommending me, it's actually recommending me for the last 3 months, these 300 people. And every single week, it's going to go out and find more people that meet the criteria that we set. And why we set this was on our previous searches. So it starts to learn. The more you kind of give it, the more it learns for you, right? So for 299 of these people, we get to see quite a bit of information. Now, the things I look for are this. So shared experiences straight away. These are the lowest number, but something in the last 3 months means we did something together. Right? This could mean we joined the same groups, we liked the same posts, we might have even shared a comment or two. In fact, with Chris here, I know I spoke with Chris in a message, so I just recognize his name and his profile image. So just keep in mind that these people, it's tracking everything that you do on LinkedIn, and it kind of shows it to you here, which would be really nice for kind of keeping in contact. Now, if posting is part of your sort of, again, day activity, you want someone that's a bit more extroverted, which is a real thing on LinkedIn, by the way. We find that people that post are far more likely to respond to a message of somebody they don't know because they're naturally more extroverted. But if you wanted to get in contact here with, like, let's say Kerry, I can click this. I can open up her profile. Firstly, I can preview it straight away and see if it's the right type of fit. And then I can scroll down and see when the last time she posted. So I can see it was 2 weeks ago, and it looks like she was maybe hiring for a new position. Maybe she just started a new position. So as you can see by the engagement and the comments, it's a really good time to get and kind of introduce yourself. Not salesy, but you just touch base in a really nice way. So maybe you just drop a nice friendly message congratulating her on the new position. And then, of course, you can drop in maybe a week or two later. Hey, hope you're doing well at your new role. I'm sure as the dust settles, we'd like to chat to you about X or about Y, right? So you've given it the context it needs before you've kind of dived into the kind of, no one likes to be pitched straight away. So these are really nice things to keep track of. And more importantly, just allows you to kind of get to them when it's a good time. And you can set up notifications for this, by the way. When you build this, it will ask you if you'd like notifications to your email. So if you have a very, very niche audience, you can literally be emailed the moment that they have, made a post or something's changed and these sorts of things. So yeah, as you can see, we have hundreds of people saved, thousands of companies saved, because we keep an eye on a ton, not just for us, but also our clients, right? We make sure that it's the right time for them. And it looks like, let me just see here. There used to be another tab, but it looks like it might not be here. Let me try one more list. But there is another option. Let me just see within here. It used to be here, but maybe, it looks like it's changed. So just as of recent, there used to be one where it used to say mentioned in the news, which is fantastic because this allows you to really, as I said, when someone's been mentioned in the news, you can mention that. They know you've done a bit of research on the company. I believe that still exists, but as I said, maybe it's not within that core pillar anymore. But I'll be sure to update you guys if that is a recent change. LinkedIn changes every single week with new features. Now, when you set alerts, when you track companies and people, you actually get an entire news feed of just those people. So instead of going on LinkedIn, kind of your normal feed, I'd recommend actually exploring this feed, which again, no one's ever looking at. But these are the people that you actually want to get in front of. So in this person's case, I can see they've shared a post. Well, what a great opportunity for me to jump in on someone else's post, maybe leave some quick, if they've commented or if they've shared that post. In this case, I can actually comment on their post around that subject. So now I'm not, we're not commenting on their post. We're commenting and being part of the industry, which feels a lot better. So these are kind of the things we're looking for clients as well. So, and again, you can filter this by like accounts. So now it's only going to bring up the accounts we follow, right? So if you're looking to get in front of some big names and even some small names, all sorts of brands, you can follow along with what they're doing so that when you write to them, it's timely. An example would be they make a post, 3 minutes after they make a post, you send their page a message. Very likely to see it, right? Someone is online, someone can respond. And the same for people. Again, it says share the post. So if I wanted to get in front of Lucy here, I have a great opportunity because 2 hours ago, looks like she was on a surfboard. Let's pull it up here. We can have a quick look. What a great fun way of touching base with someone that we don't currently work with. You can see she's a co-founder of Stepladder. It looks like it helps people reach their financial goals. Great. Maybe we can tie this to the type of post she's doing, right? Touch base in a really fun way. I'd probably try and do something creative like Stepladder with taking a step with surfing or something fun, right? So she knows that we've done a bit of research beforehand. But anyway, let's just jump back here. I'll check and see if there's any questions really quickly. And just kind of check in. Just so you know, if you have a question at any point, feel free to put it in the YouTube chat. Hey, Liz, I can see you there. Thank you for saying hello. If you guys have any questions whilst watching, we are live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and also even our back end as well on the site. So again, we have questions coming in a couple different places. I do plan to kind of cover the core basics, Often we find with these events that if I answer questions in the middle or even at the beginning, often they get answered throughout the process. But of course, if you have any now, feel free to let me know any questions on profiles. If not, we'll carry on with the process and the kind of the entire sales navigator experience. So whilst I know this entire event is based on the Sales Navigator, I want to share with you here really briefly how regular LinkedIn can actually play an effect with Sales Navigator, because it can open the door dramatically to what is possible. Now, I'll have to share a couple different screens here, so I hope you guys don't mind if it kind of goes off and comes back on. But within this section, I want to share with you how we can really get creative with who you're finding. And this is where you probably want to start taking some real notes. So this one is a technique that we like to call as private groups or private clubs. Okay, so on LinkedIn, if you click on My Network, and this obviously on your profile, and if we go down further, you can see that we're in groups. Now, if you're not in any groups, I highly recommend you start getting in them. Okay, now I'm going to just share with you the different groups that we're in. Of course, some of these are all clients, as you can imagine, so they'll be very different. But I can actually share with you live here. We have quite a few app development companies at the moment, and hence why these two are at the top. Now, if you're looking for someone that's looking to create an app, or someone that invests in apps, which is a two-pronged side for a lot of app developers. People have an idea but don't have the budget. Well, if you can help with that, fantastic. Also, the other way, they have the budget and they have an idea, but they don't know who to technically use. Real problem for that industry. So within these, we can actually take this group as an example. And in fact, I'm just going to use this small business one just for the example, because again, I don't believe the people are going to load at this time, but that's no big deal. So to do this, you want to copy the name or remember the name. So sometimes with LinkedIn, you can't copy and paste within Sales Navigator. So just remember the group that you found that you want to research. So if you haven't picked up yet, any group on LinkedIn that you're in, you can actually dissect who's within there and find the people you're looking for. So it's absolutely so powerful. Okay. So jumping in, this is actually a lead filter or lead search. And what we want to do is just go down here and you want to click groups. It's absolutely buried right at the bottom left. And it's the second to last option on LinkedIn. So again, I'm going to try and paste this, but it looks like it hasn't found it, right? So what we want to do is actually type in the actual group. Now, I just remember the first three words. Typically, you don't need to remember the entire group name. But if I click this, it's not going to open at this time because it says too many requests. This is a real problem with Sales Navigator. I'm very surprised, as I said, we've done plenty of these. But what would typically happen, and just so you know, we've had some issues in the past where we start showcasing strangers. So I'm not actually that bothered that it's not showing strangers on Sales Nav, as you can imagine. Some people don't like to be shared on screen. So, of course, with this group, what we could then do is say, okay, well, we know that they have a subject matter. Now, this one doesn't make too much sense, right? We know they're a small business. We know they're in a LinkedIn group. So for us, it obviously makes sense if we work with a smaller business, we know they're on LinkedIn in a group, we can start connecting the dots for our industry. But as an app development industry, as an example, if I just jump back, oh, apologies, I think you're still stuck. 1 second, let me jump into Sales Nav here for you. Apologies, I do, with the tool that we're using, we have to share it one window at a time. So I think I caught that then. Thank you for letting me know, by the way. So yeah, so with the group here on the left-hand side, you can see that when you type this in, you now have the ability to dissect that entire group. So if you found like an app visionary group or a group that's directly around your subject matter, a very simple starting point would be plug in the group and then click post it on LinkedIn. Now you've just found all the people that like that subject matter that are also active. And they're extroverted and they're most likely to respond to you on LinkedIn because they like posting, they like reactions, right? And they probably enjoy networking ultimately. But if you want to dissect this even further, you could. So you can go into industry, you can go into location even further and start to really dissect who's within the group. Now, that one that I picked has 335,000 people Obviously, we can't utilize that. We're looking for the top 400 people this month, right? So if you were to looking or interested in that group search, I'd recommend looking to build a list size of about 400, and then you can add them on LinkedIn and start having conversations with them. But trust me, this type of approach is fantastic for dissecting brands and seeing, oh, sorry, dissecting groups and seeing who's actually within them. You'll be very surprised. We actually find that the best searches of these are the ones that are private. So you want to find private groups, the ones you have to be approved to get into, not the ones that are public. Okay, the ones that are public, anybody can join, and you start to find there's a lot of mess. The other groups that we like, even for clients, is actually industry groups, when it looks like everybody would be a competitor, because you can actually remove them entirely and simply focus on the people that aren't in your industry, which is again another great way of finding new prospects that don't get messages often. And trust me, with each layer that you go with LinkedIn, and especially with Sales Navigator, the less likely these people have ever been messaged. And that's really what you're looking for, is someone that gets very few messages. So when you do send them something fresh, they're far more likely to receive and respond to it in a positive manner. Okay, so that is just one of the extra benefits here. Now, with competitors, this is something I want to share with you, which is immensely powerful. This is actually going to be on regular LinkedIn, because as I said, these two are intertwined. So we want to make sure that we're utilizing all of the benefits. So let me go ahead and share with you regular LinkedIn. We're just going to open my feed. So who's to say what's going to be on there? So just so you know, but we can scroll down to just like some type of regular post here, something with a bit of reaction to it. Let's keep going. So we'll use this person as an example, right? So it looks like they're running an ad for NAN, fantastic tool, allows you to build apps, by the way. The reason I'm using this one is because I can find a good large enough pool of people. So if you didn't know, what you can actually do as a way of finding people to save them within Sales Navigator as well. So if I was interested here in adding this chair, or this entrepreneur, Michael, I can open his profile, and I'll just share this with you here really quickly. I'll share my entire screen, actually. That way we can, you guys can see everything at once. There'll be quite a few jumping around here. So fantastic. So if I open Michael's profile here, you can see that I have the ability straight away to review his profile in a bit more depth, understand what he's about. If I wanted to save him, I can actually click this button, Save in Sales Navigator. So one of the things I mentioned earlier is when you get stuck with the monthly limits or the daily limits of Sales Navigator, which is obviously a real thing, you can actually come to regular LinkedIn and find people in some organic ways. Where this works great is if you did this for competitors. If I found a competitor and I found their posts, I can actually go in and say, okay, who's in their network? Who's interested in my subject? Are they working together? Would they consider working with me? Let's start to look at things and start to figure out who they are. And again, if you're interested in saving these people, you just pull them up and you click save. And as I said, it's fantastic. So I'll just share with you here quickly on screen. 1 second here. So if I want to save Bradley here really quickly, I can actually come within here and then click save in Sales Navigator. Which again, it's that simple to kind of get in front of someone, showcase something different, and again, find people in a unique way, which is really what LinkedIn is about. So just to share again, if I was to do this, 1 second, I'm not sure why this isn't sharing the entire screen. Hopefully it will do, but nonetheless, it looks like that feature is not working, so we'll do it one by one. But what it allows you to do is find people on LinkedIn and share it directly to Sales Navigator. So when you have those people, I'll share with you how you find them. Okay, so if I open this, share screen, I'm going to share my screen here, and then we're going to do Sales Navigator. So it looks like it's not sharing at the moment, guys. So apologies for that, but technical issues do happen. But ultimately, what happens is they arrive as a saved search inside of a list. So this means you can find them again, and again, it starts to track them like we covered earlier. So again, really powerful stuff there. Fantastic. So then the next thing, we'll jump into some questions because I can see them coming in. I think you guys can hear LinkedIn as well. So if you have any questions about anything we've covered now, please let me know. and you can message me on LinkedIn directly, or you can send us an email, or if you're in this live chat, you can do that as well. We typically are able to see them all. So yeah, fantastic. So let's jump into the first question. So this one says, how do you recommend setting up saved searches for maximum efficiency? Okay, well, just as I kind of covered there, what you want to do is actually organize it from the beginning. So before you make a big step, before you jump into kind of finding the people, which is the exciting part, everyone wants leads and clients, right? Straight away, really take the time to understand how you could dissect them. If you're finding them through some of the methods like I just mentioned, like a competitor, make sure that list is named as a competitor. That way your copy and your messaging and your whole approach for those individuals is adjusted. Otherwise, you'll find that you kind of get confused. It gets way too confusing. And we see this with some of the biggest teams in the world that we've worked with. It becomes really hard to make it kind of stick, make it right. Okay, so that's one of the things I would definitely recommend keeping an eye on and making sure that you're separating it for efficiency in advance. Otherwise, you'll just get overwhelmed. Okay, so wow, we have quite a few questions coming in. Fantastic. So the next one, can you share your best practices for using Sales Navigator in an account-based selling? Of course. So with account-based, as I said, much like people as well, you want to make sure that if you are going to pitch somebody, it's on a good day. Now, everyone has good and bad days, but there's some things on LinkedIn that can really indicate that they're having a good day or a good month or a good time, like just a good period of time. Now, the obvious would be target that company, save them in an account search on LinkedIn, and then look to wait and see when they post something positive. If their company just got invited for an award, or if their company just got invited to a press release, or they just announced a press release, or they just hit a milestone, these are fantastic opportunities to kind of help them get to the next one. So you utilize their good news, they see that you've paid attention, and now you've introduced yourself on a good day, which I can't tell you how important that is. If you catch someone on a bad day, trust me, with outreach, you'll know about it, right? And we've had the same people, a year will go by, we'll message them again, and they will apologize for how they dealt with us the first time. We just caught them on a bad day. And as I said, that's the reality of human beings in the end. But if you were to target account-based search, especially, and you want to sell to them, the only way to do it would be wait and track them for a good day. Assuming you do that, you'll find a lot more success. Same with people. You want to make sure that they're posting and things are going well. If they've recently announced they're hiring, again, things are growing. People aren't hiring if they're not growing or the company's not in a good, stable spot. So utilize these signals as a way of introducing yourself in a place. As I said, timing is everything with outreach, literally. So fantastic. So I can see there's a bunch of questions come in. So we'll cover these at this time. Of course, I do know for the VIP people, there will be an extended Q&A that will be early next week. And of course, as well, for the people that are VIP Plus, we've already emailed you your bonuses. So just to share, everybody attending this, you will receive an email. That email will only be valid for 1 hour, and it's for $100 off your ticket back, basically. Directly to our course if you choose. It's full satisfaction guarantee. So if you're unhappy for any reason, we can simply refund you if you're not happy with what you find in there. But it's everything we're covering today spread out over 12 hours in bite-sized lessons that are multiple minutes long, and you can really digest the things you want and of course discard the things you don't need or the things you know. So you're not sat there for hours and hours. It is hours and hours, but it's broken into a couple minute lessons, which is fantastic. Next question. How can reps avoid overwhelm themselves with too many saved leads and alerts? Now, that's a real problem. As I said, if you're not organizing what your sales reps are doing beforehand, you're going to fall into that issue very quickly, especially if you imagine if you save 10 people and they happen to post 3 times a week, you've just created quite a lot of alerts for you. And these are like notification pings, emails every day. So if you start saving like we have 9,000 companies, you'll find very quickly that those emails can get out of hand. So if you're not focusing on the ones that you do want notifications from, and you can ask those reps to go in and focus. And I'd actually recommend focusing your marketing if you have sales reps, giving them specific accounts to go after for a period of time. 30 days makes sense. Give them 50 accounts to try and book meetings with, and wait for the opportunity to kind of present itself. Don't just have them send a copy paste message to everyone. It doesn't work anymore. Okay, I think we're past that point. A few years ago that would have worked, not so much today. Okay, so fantastic. It says, I had an email saying you were just starting. It looks like you're finished. Oh, hi, Liz. That isn't the case, just to share. We have been online for what is 50 minutes, but you will receive a full recording. So if you've just jumped on now, don't worry about that. You'll be sure to receive the full recording. And of course, Liz, we will be speaking, no doubt, on a one-to-one session. You should receive that email here really shortly as well. So you'll receive the full experience. Don't worry. So next question. And of course, if you guys in the live chat happen to have questions as well, we are getting these from email and the team are plugging them into the tool in our back end. So we're able to kind of bring them on screen without showcasing you guys. Again, we've had issues where we showcase who you are if you don't want them to be shown. So what's the most overlooked feature on Sales Navigator that delivers quick wins? Referrals. So that process of finding connections if you have happy clients already, finding the people that you actually know them is exactly what you should look to do for quick wins. That's something you can plug in this week. And it's what all I do on my own LinkedIn is we take our happiest clients and we just find the people they know and we tell them the results that they got, how many leads we generated them, how many clients we did. Right now and last week, we have insurance-based clients. We're going out to more insurance companies and specifically the owners. We just closed a deal of $352,000 inside of 6 weeks for a brand new client. So because of that, of course, we want to tell more of them that, and of course, share with them the process on how we did that and see if we're able to work with them further. So yeah, plenty of them. So, okay, next question. So quick wins, referrals. Long story short, just to recap that. And again, it's covered within here, but we'll be sharing with you guys plenty of more information. And you can, of course, get that within the course as well. How do you effectively filter prospects without making your search too narrow? That's a really good point. So this depends on how you go through the process. Now, there are many tools out there. And to be honest, ChatGPT Pro has been doing a great job for our team internally. And this is where we take a list, we can extract it, even up to 5,000 people at one time. So we can take a really, really large scope of, say, let's just say like the industry. And then we can ask it to remove everybody that doesn't have more than 5 years experience. And it goes through the entire data and segments the people that we're looking for and puts the other people elsewhere. That's just an idea. If you're looking to go hyper niche, you could look at making a save lead list that you always continuously update. That would allow you to keep growing and allow even if your searches are narrow every month or every day, you'll find that collectively it grows to something much bigger. But again, if you're going super niche, I'd probably ask yourself, why are you going so niche unless you're just looking after specific job roles? We find with outreach, the more you kind of open the door, let's just say a company, obviously everyone wants to go after the owner, the CEO, decision maker, director. But when you kind of spread out the risk or the doors, I like to call them, if we go after 10 doors, we're far more likely that one person opens it than just one person. So this concept is massively important with LinkedIn. And we find that, collectively, it makes sense to, just kind of knock on more doors, even at the same company. So again, just look to expand some stuff. If not, lead list will be the route for you. That way it can grow over time. And even if your searches are small today, you might find that there's more people that meet your criteria in the future. And just to share on that, actually, whilst we're talking about that, when you first make a search on Sales Navigator, the suggestions are the people they know most about. This also means it's typically the oldest people that have been on the platform. Depending on your industry, you'll notice that pretty quickly. So if you save the search on Sales Navigator, it will continue to update with the newest people every day. So it depends how active or how big your audience is, but we use that all the time. Okay. So just a little quick tip there. Great. So next question. How often should sales rep refresh or update their lead lists? Well, this depends on the route in which you're saving them, of course. So a bit more context would have been fantastic in this case. But updating, refreshing, I would do it weekly. And especially if you're looking to focus on people that are active, that are posting on LinkedIn, because you want the latest people. Equally, if you're going after people that have recently changed jobs, again, another really good indicator here with this is if they've just been promoted to a very big position in a very large company and you send them a message, they're going to probably be in a really good mood for the next week or two. Probably a really good time to introduce yourself. Where the opposite happens, where we have a couple of clients that have tried this in the past, they're people that kind of help people get jobs, which is obviously a huge industry on LinkedIn. I'm not talking just recruitment. I'm talking, someone that's literally just been fired. They help you get your next position quickly. Try writing to people 2 days after they've been fired. You can imagine how it was received. So again, looking for that positive indicator, that good day moment is something we find that can really change things around completely. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. These are being pulled from email. I can see you guys are emailing us right now just within my phone being in the background. So if you have any extra questions, or you can go to the website, it's obviously in the bottom left there. Feel free to ask us any questions in the chat and my team will import them for me to see within this tool. Fantastic. Oh, apologies, that one was already done. So what's a good framework for sending in emails that actually get responses? Great question. So in-mails are the messaging that you can do within Sales Navigator. So if you don't want to wait for a connection request, you can find someone on the platform. And let's see if we can share. It looks like that share feature is still stuck, guys. Apologies for that. But with the sharing of the Sales Navigator, when you find someone that uses Sales Navigator, they'll have a gold symbol. And you would have noticed this on most people's profile. At any high-level position, you'll see that they have a gold indicator. This means that you can message them straight away. So if you're stuck at the 400 connection requests, given that you have Sales Nav, you can message 150 people more for free every month to positions that also have Sales Navigator. So it's a hidden thing. They don't really share with you. These things are called in-mails. The ones that get sent for free, they're called open in-mails. Okay, really hidden. LinkedIn don't promote this because they don't want you to know it. So there's a bunch of value. Okay, so with the framework, what I can share with you at its core, I would introduce yourself and not sell. I'm not kidding when I say this. 95% of people use an in-mail to pitch a service, and it is received better, and it does typically get resonated a lot better because they know you've paid to send them that message. So you do get a lot more responses. You do get people, and the actual message is in bold when you get one on LinkedIn. And also, as I said, it's in bold, and it's always at the top of their inbox. So you've obviously utilized that. So because of that, what this allows is for you to obviously send a message without needing a connection request. So you don't need them to go through that process. If they get many, they don't see them, these sorts of things. So you immediately message them. Just to share, it does send them an email as well. So when you send that message, LinkedIn email them for you with that message being shown as well. So in case they don't know their login or they don't check it often, they can actually respond to the email and you'll get the response within LinkedIn. So really powerful that way. But as a framework, I'd introduce yourself. I would look to start a conversation. Something to share with in-mails is you get one chance to send them, only one opportunity, unless they reply. So if you just pitch and you send them a link and they choose not to respond, you'll never be able to message them again unless they connect with you. Okay, so the difference is if you start a conversation around, maybe you do some research before, we get an indicator, then you look to put that in front of them. I would highly recommend starting a conversation, because if they reply, you can begin to have a conversation with them. You can talk back and forth like a regular chat and regular connection. Really powerful stuff. But don't pitch, look to introduce yourself. Really, really positive stuff. I can actually see the next one's about icebreakers. So how can you use reps? How can reps use icebreakers to personalize outreach without sounding scripted? This is something we see time and time again. And again, LinkedIn has automation options, but personalization, more than personalization, timing is something we find more important, which is why I've mentioned it throughout this entire live experience, is because of how much of a difference it makes. Personalization, really quickly, can be kind of creepy. Okay, so if I share with you, hey, I see that you liked Matt and Sarah's post last week, and I think we could, it's kind of strange. Like, that's never going to resonate with a stranger. That's just going to seem really, really weird. And you'll be surprised, many of our clients do these types of techniques or have tried many of these types of techniques. And it just seems strange more than anything. So with icebreakers, again, just make it be a conversation. Take note of what they're doing. If they've made a post recently and you want to comment on it, I'd actually comment on the post before you send the message, because the icebreaker is the comment rather than the message that you send. I almost like to use that as a continuation of whatever their post was. So I'd look to do some unique stuff like this, and that's how it's not scripted. It's if they make a post about something in your industry and you leave a comment, they respond, and then you carry it on in the private chat. That's a fantastic way to get into a conversation with someone, and it seems genuine because it is genuine. Yeah, but obviously there's a strategy behind it. Okay, fantastic. So we have quite a few more questions. It looks to be maybe 10. Wow, that's really nice, guys. So again, if you have any more, feel free to send them to us. If we don't get to your question in this moment, we'll be sure to follow up either by email or in our one-to-one session. So again, not everyone likes these Q&As, but whilst we have questions, I'll continue to answer them. And then, of course, we can chat about your specific business one-to-one. Okay, fantastic. So how should sales teams measure ROI from SalesNav? Okay, well, to me, it's very simple. How many leads did you get and how many clients have converted in a period of time? That to me seems pretty straightforward. Of course, you can track messaging. Now, something I can say with LinkedIn is a lot of the clients that you can get do come from conversations. So you could track how many conversations they're having, especially if you have multiple. But again, if it's not converting, if it's not getting replies, responses, booked calls, you've probably got something wrong with either your approach or the people you're messaging are not active. That's the two most common things we see. Best of luck. For small teams or startups, how do you justify the investment in SalesNav? Great question. So as part of this event, you will receive a link from us where if you haven't used SalesNav or you want to create a new account, which is something you can do, you get 2 months free. So that's just a freebie and bonus. As being part of our network, we like to offer that to everyone. But how do you justify the investment? Well, to justify it, I would do an immense amount of research the moment you get it. SalesNav's one of those things. It's too easy to get it and then not invest the time. You invest the money, but you forget to put the time in. So I'm glad that you're here and you'll be able to learn a ton from this session. And of course, all the follow-up information we provide you. But to justify the investment, I would simply ask yourself, how much is a client worth and how many months can you pay for SalesNav to get there? It's literally that simple. So if your client's worth $1,200 at a minimum, well, you have 1 year to make Sales Navigator make sense. Really simple when you start viewing it like this. Whilst I understand your budget might be tight there, I would look to, if you are, you abuse the free trial. Get as much information within the 2 months they give you, gather that data, save those lists, and then look to invest as much time as you can in starting conversations with those specific people. Fantastic. Best of luck. What's the recommended cadence for reviewing and refining saved searches to match evolving goals? Great question. Reviewing the cadence of just to share in basic terms, what this person's asking is how often should we review and refine the people that we're actually targeting? Well, I would allow LinkedIn to do that. So once you've saved the searches, you should find that there's a little green section on the save searches, which will tell you to say add updates since the date you saved. So if you're not seeing that, just go ahead and write to me and I'll be sure to make sure that you guys know where that is. But specifically, LinkedIn should be doing that for you every single day. So this should continuously search for new people that meet your criteria. So you don't have to update it. You just have to click a button and your sales reps have an immediate new set of people to target every week. Just to share that with you. So if you're not saving your searches, I would highly recommend you do that because it will save tons of time, free up limitations, and allow your team, it will just save you hours, to be honest. Your team won't have to keep searching for new people. They won't have to clean it up with people they've already found. You will only get given the people that you haven't seen before or that now meet your criteria. Okay, because SalesNav doesn't find everybody the first time round. Okay, best of luck. So again, if you guys are interested in anything else around the subject and you guys want to get in contact just to share, you can visit our website. There's tons of offers there. Of course, if you want us to come on board and kind of do any of these searches for you, that is a service we offer. If you're looking to learn more about utilizing SalesNav our course is the best place. We've got 12 hours, 66 lessons, hours of content, where we dive into hyper specific stuff we could not cover within this sort of session here. Best of luck. So what's the difference between premium and sales nav? Now, this is a great question. I've been getting this so much frequently with new clients coming on, and they're upgrading because obviously they need sales nav. And they're like, hey, there's so many of these subscriptions. And I agree with you. LinkedIn's done some really weird stuff just recently where there's so many different options and tiers now, and you get different features. In short, premium gives you new features for your profile. Sales nav allows you to search the platform. I'd only recommend going with Sales Nav. If you don't have Sales Nav to find the right people, then you don't need the features necessary for LinkedIn. I wouldn't pay half the money for less than half of the reward. Yeah, just kind of the basics there. And if you do get Sales Nav, you get all the premium features anyway. So, and some of them, just to share, some of them actually last on your account forever. They don't actually remove them. Little tip we've noticed. We're not entirely sure on which one's fully yet, but for the clients that have had it and then they took it away because we don't need it anymore for them, again, some of their features still stay. Just a little tip for you. Can you explain what a saved lead is versus a saved account? Okay, it sounds like you might have joined a little bit later today, but very quickly, just for the other people watching, the saved lead is a saved person on LinkedIn. So a lead on LinkedIn is people, and an account is companies. So there's two different reasons and two different sections on LinkedIn to save either or. This just allows you to, basically keep track of companies, but also keep track of people. So an example here is if a person leaves a company and goes somewhere else, you can be notified of that if you want to work with that individual. Yeah, if you want to work with the company, then you'll want to know who's still at that company. If they're hiring a new leadership team, you may want to know that information. Okay, and that's kind of the difference. But again, I would decide ahead of time who you're targeting, people or accounts. If it's both, then you want to have a technique for both. Otherwise, it will get messy really quickly. Okay, what's the quickest way to find decision makers at a company? Well, the quickest way would be to go to the company page directly for that specific company and just click the people tab. So it defaults to posts. If you swipe along on a phone, or if you look view the sort of toolbar on a computer, you'll see that the people are there. When you have Premium or Sales Navigator, when you click people, you'll see a big bright gold section. It will literally say decision makers on screen, and you can just click that and immediately see the decision makers at that company. That's the quickest route. So if you're struggling, or if you know exactly who you want to work with, that's the quickest way. If you're looking to get most decision makers, I'd recommend doing seniority level inside of a lead search. This will bring in only the people that have been there within certain industries and leadership teams. But sometimes you have to make sure that the company you're targeting has LinkedIn set up correctly. Otherwise, you just find everybody. So quick tip there. Okay, I'm just going to get a quick sip of water and then I'll answer this question. Okay, does Sales Navigator show information that isn't available on regular LinkedIn? Of course it does. That's what they sell. That's what LinkedIn looks to sell to you monthly at $100 a month. So does Sales Navigator show information? Yeah. So it shows activity level at scale. It shows you everybody on the platform that's public. Again, just to share, people that are private aren't available. And it shares tons of information. So one of the things we covered in this was groups. So if you're in a LinkedIn group and you want to see who's within there from regular LinkedIn, you just get the number of people. So the one I shared earlier had 330,000. Well, if I wanted to find the business owners in London or in Nebraska, as an example, I can dissect that entire group immediately and find just those people. Apologies, I have a fly in here. You probably just saw it on screen. So from that point, you can now find just the people you're looking for with an interest in that group. Really, that's one of the most powerful things you can do with LinkedIn, because otherwise you're stuck with the people that are engaging on the group, and that's not always the easiest thing to look at and focus on, of course. Fantastic. So it looks like we've got 2 more questions, guys. And of course, you guys will be sent the entire recording of this, and we'll be sure to follow up with everybody that wants a one-to-one session. So is there a limit to how many in-mails you get each month? Yes. So in-mails are a product that sales or LinkedIn sell. They're about $1 a send. Now, what I can share with you is they give you 150 of them for free when you also own Sales Navigator. So these are really hidden, but the way they work is if you can find people that also have Sales Nav, and that means they have a gold symbol around their name or in their name on LinkedIn, you can message those people straight away. And as a quick tip, it's always the highest level people at a company. So if you're targeting big companies, it's only going to be the top kind of C-suite and above that have Sales Nav. If you're targeting smaller companies, typically go after the owners. If anyone's investing any time on LinkedIn, they should have Sales Nav and you can message them straight away. So, but yes, you get 150 for free. Otherwise, it's $1 a send after that. Quick tip, if you're wanting to do in-mails at scale, don't go down the route of in-mails. I wouldn't recommend it. I'd actually look to go down the route of cold email. You'll find that the scale you get, because you can identify the emails from their profile, is far more professional, far better, and you can do just way more and at a fraction of the cost. Fantastic. Looks to be like the last question, unless anyone's got some last minute ones, I'll be sure to check our email just personally before we get off, just to make sure that everybody is getting a question answered. If your question hasn't been answered in this experience, we'll be sure to follow up with you by email. Okay. We would like to make sure everyone gets their questions answered. And if we're having a one-to-one, of course, you can wait to ask it there. What's the easiest way to keep track of conversations started through in-mails? So in-mails get buried within your inbox, okay? So that's really, really hard. So within LinkedIn and within Sales Nav, in the top toolbar in the blue, you'll have messaging. That should track every message you send through Sales Nav. So that can be kind of your CRM in that moment, and that will allow you to, of course, show, see all the messages you've sent, be able to track it within there. I'd highly recommend only importing the people that you have had positive responses from into an external tool. Otherwise, just allow it to live within LinkedIn, because you might find to sell someone through LinkedIn, you need more conversation than you would expect, even than by email. Email is pretty short and snappy. Hey, we're interested, let's book a call. But with LinkedIn, sometimes it can take a little bit more just to kind of get someone to feel confident and comfortable enough with that in mind. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for this session. I really appreciate everyone that purchased a ticket. Excited to see you in the next one. And of course, to the people that we have a one-to-one, I'm really excited to share that with you. You should have received your bonuses whilst we were live today. In case you haven't, we'll be sure to follow up with everybody tomorrow to ensure that you get all of your bonuses along with this recording. This recording will be available on YouTube for the next few days, and then we simply make it unlisted, and we'll share with you the private link in case you want to come back to this session. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Speak to you soon, and I hope to see you in a one-to-one shortly.